ready to cut the sound.
You can have the site mute. You can just like mute the site to YouTube.
And
Where?
we are live.
We are live, so be ready to cut the sound, Lito. You have for those of you know, you can actually at the top of the browser. At least this is a Chrome. I'm not sure it's in Firefox. You can right click on the tab that has the stream, and there'll be an option to mute site underneath like a pin.
Oh,
Yes, that's how I have it.
I
so,
never saw that.
That's a helpful tip.
I learned that from like Twitch, because like some people would just like would say to like followers or anything like that to do that, like, and we've joined by Wild Tom as like mute the site, don't turn all the volume down on the streams because it doesn't count as a viewer or something like that. But you have the if you have the stream up, but you just mute the site as well, but still have the volume, so it's like it looks like it is playing in volume. So
Hi, Tom.
and that counts as the audio. That counts as a viewer. So it's a weird thing with Twitch. And hello, Tom. Yes.
Jonathan, did you learn your sense of intro timing? Where did you learn that?
What are you talking about? What is this?
At the school of I never breathe ever again.
So, hello, welcome on everyone. Well, hello, lads, lasses, and NB badasses. Here on the Alchemy bench, we have the usual irregulars, me, Tom McDonald, Leto Ano, and of course John Brockman. Others might be joining us. It's not, but we're joined by our good friend Marty Abernathy. Hello, Marty.
So I'm an irregular. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
One of the irregular regulars.
We're going back to that, are we?
Have we ever left?
No,
I don't know.
No.
I know that I'm irregular because I don't drink coffee. So if I drink coffee, I would be more regular.
Oh, we're joined, and that's our other special guest that is joining us for right now.
He's not here yet.
Okay, yeah.
The thing is still moving.
It's connecting to the audio.
There we go.
Hi, Tony.
There we go.
Hello. Your name.
And I don't know if you want to, but your name has been your full name.
Okay.
Okay.
You can use Bronx or you can use Tony as long as the
No, I'm saying your full name.
No,
I don't
there's
know if
your
you,
full name on your
Zoom is showing your first and last.
Yes, it is.
So I don't know if you want to.
It won't show on YouTube. Don't worry.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, if you mouse over.
I'm doxxed anyway.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Anytime you're a person that has problems with Nazis, you get doxxed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, but yeah, we're now joined by our friend from the Twitters and the YouTube's Bronx blogger. So how are you doing, Bronx?
Good afternoon, comrades.
Hail, citizen.
Hi. It's the night for me, but
all time zones.
Hi.
Oh, very good. Very good.
You just think it's night because you're a foreigner and they do things wrong there. That's what it is.
Shut up, you fucking American.
You're in France or Canada?
I'm in France, yes.
Ah, okay.
Don't you dare call her Canadian. She has a big problem with the Quebecois.
No, I don't. It's just they don't speak French.
Well, they would disagree, but then.
No, they wouldn't. I guarantee you. They know they speak Quebecois, not French.
But they call themselves francophones. I don't know what this is.
Yes.
This is
Yes,
this is
do.
confusing to Anglophones. By the way, Julie, I like
everyone
your new.
speaks your language. You don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. I like your new icon.
But you're gonna have to cover it up
You
with
have
Julie as a
Jill.
snob because she's gone
Jonathan.
on her tear about the francophones. So
yes, like Mithra, I agree. I should have like gills, so I don't have to like draw
He
breath at all.
doesn't say you should have. He says you do. Don't hide my awesome profile picture, John. Don't you dare.
I already deleted it, but you are a snob.
I am.
Quebecois people have the same kind of deranged settler nationalism that like Boers in South Africa or Australians do. Like they're extremely rabidly nationalist on someone else's land. It's very strange.
Some, yes.
I mean,
I think it's confounding, right? Like,
Well, it's just like all a bunch of places that there are still going to be like those nationalists that like love the nation, as it were, discovering this land, and it's just like,
I mean, it's no different than other Canadians, really.
Exactly, yeah.
Although,
But
given
as a
the
minority,
recent discovery with native schools,
Yeah.
and what the church did, schools.
yeah.
Oh no, I'm not letting liberal Canadians off the hook, because they do that like neoliberal nationalism, which is like everyone's included, but it's the same kind of, it's all built on bones. I'm just fascinated by the way that, again, like Quebecois, South African Boers, Australians, Americans, they really like froth in a way that is like, I think it's like they're fighting with an irreconcilable contradiction, so they have to go completely mad in order to wave the flag and touch the soil and go, "This is mine." But they have to really push the brain.
I mean, I don't know about the other people you said, but the Quebecois are a minority in Canada.
Yes.
Well, the Boers are also a minority in South Africa, but
okay, that's why they're so chauvinistic, I guess.
Well, they're not a minority in Quebec, though, are they?
Quebec is just Quebec is part of Canada. It's
no, it's not. It's special and different, and needs to be its own country.
They don't think so.
Yeah, exactly. There are actual separatists, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there are. I don't know if all Quebec.
I don't. The culture is so different than the French culture that
yeah,
they're weird.
So they're not snobs?
No. They have been Americanized. They're lost to that.
Is there? I've always been curious about this. Is there left-wing nationalism in France?
Yes.
Do you think that is a contradiction?
Yes, I'm an anarchist, so yes.
Yeah.
But let's just say there are a lot of left-wing, anti-Europe, European Union.
Yeah.
And some of it makes sense, but I don't know, the line is so fine between that and the discourse of Marine Le Pen that it's...
Yeah, there's a pretty big difference between I'm opposed to nationalism and I'm a nationalist.
Yep.
Or I put it another way, I dislike the European Union because it hurts the people outside the colonies, basically. It hurts the colonies. And I'm opposed to the European Union because Jews.
Wow. Has Marine Le Pen actually gone all the way, or is she still playing with soft language?
They're still pushing Frexit,
Oh my God.
with the fash. So it's like a lot of left-wingers were Brexiters. Mostly, honestly, mostly tankies though. But I'm not going to go into tankies right now. Everyone knows what I think about them.
Yeah, in the UK they called that Lexit.
Yes, Lexit.
Leftists are for Brexit. Which
I
is
have
like...
ex-friends, let's just say, that were Marxists that I had fall on about that.
Well, that's because you put way too big an emphasis on caring about brown people, Julie. I mean, you had to focus on class. Yeah,
and Ireland. I mean, they focus on class, but they forget how Brexit fucked over Ireland and Scotland. And
Well, the main thing with that is, I mean, you have a conservative government, and like if you were going to have a true Lexit, you would be instituting policies that were the same or more stringent, more left than the policies of the EU. But that was never going to happen.
More left than the policies of the EU. Yeah, right.
Yeah, well,
Like anything, you mean?
It would be very easy.
Yes.
well.
I mean, apart from open borders, the EU is very, very, very right wing.
Mm. Well, I mean, basically
they
the
have,
EU
a,
is
they have a deep undercurrent of racism and it's liberal racism, but it seeds in the mind of the fascists and then it grows out like fungus.
I mean, they're all right wing. It's all the same thing.
Yeah, but the only problem with your statement, though, Julie, is the government here in the UK is to the right of that.
Yes, I know.
You know, so I mean, effectively, there are policies that are going to be put into place. I mean, even now, I mean, the Minister of Health, the only reason he had contracts with his buddies that he illegally gave for PPE. He wasn't kicked out of government because of that.
Yeah.
He was kicked out of government because they had CCTV footage of him snogging with his one of his assistants.
Well, corruption is one thing, but having sex, that is a
no,
crime.
snogging is not having sex. It's French kissing.
It's kissing.
But
that's basically the same thing as sex. Let's be honest. I mean,
in the US, maybe you're weirdos. You know that.
We are weirdos. Yes, exactly.
Blame the Pilgrims. We were founded by Puritans. We've inherited their neurosis.
Oh yes, exactly, and that's probably because of the puritanical things and that one religious freedom. That's like America is the nation of Christians as it is right now, which is why it's only in America will there be a atheist community, as it were.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Yep, we basically have to for self-defense.
Yeah.
And then, of course, a lot of people assume that
that's a really nice segue to ask Marty about Thomas. I mean,
you know, you just broke the fourth wall. When you're doing a segue, you don't talk about the segue, Julie.
It's a segue,
but she loves the segue because it gives her an opportunity to sing Weird Al.
Yes, they see me rolling on my Segway.
So yes, new atheism has merged with the far right.
And it absolutely has.
I haven't followed anything about that. I haven't.
Yeah, I don't think you listen to any of the podcasts. I don't think you watch any of the YouTubes that have talked about this.
I need context now.
Okay, so Phil Torres wrote an article for Salon saying that new atheism has merged with the far right.
Phil Torres is the guy who does opening arguments with Thomas.
No, that's Andrew Torres.
Andrew Torres.
Oh, okay.
Phil Torres is a totally
different person.
God, not all white people are the same, Julie. God.
Can I ask Julie a question before we give her context?
Go nuts.
Since she's she's unspoiled in this question. So tell me, when you think of new atheism, who comes to mind?
The Kirk, TJ Kirk.
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah, Phil Torres didn't mention him in the article.
but when you think about new atheism, that's still a good example that Phil Torres is trying to point out, because we see these dude bros that are the figureheads of new atheism as well.
And that's my nice answer, because the other one is Dawkins. So
Dawkins was the one mentioned in the article.
He was mentioned
right there.
His face was big and centered in the picture for the article,
next to Steven Pinker and Sam Harris.
Yeah, but
both of whom are further right than Dawkins.
Honestly, that's not who people like me know. I mean, I know those guys because I hang out with you.
I think Steven Pinker is less associated with the brand than Dawkins and Harris. But
when I hear new atheist, the amazing atheist is the first person that comes to mind. It's sad.
Amazing Atheist was like an end point of an arc that started with Dawkins of like him being he's like a fan of new atheism that became an advocate. He's like a roadie who became a musician.
Yes, that's a good point.
But it is top down, like all the other liberal ideologies. The only again, I'm probably.
I feel like it's kind of insulting to roadies, but.
Yeah. He is the audience. He is the audience manifesting the ideology. He is like a bellwether that it got internalized by people whose interest it doesn't serve. Right? Like this is like a guy living in a basement. You can see why materially it would serve someone like Sam Harris, who's already rich, or materially it would serve someone like Richard Dawkins. It doesn't really. I mean, if you put aside his grifting, the concerns of the Amazing Atheist related to atheism, it's not going to feed him. Or does this make sense?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, but his grift feeds him.
Okay, so who is Phil Torres?
He's an author. He does articles and stuff. He's written about Steven Pinker before, criticizing his books.
Okay, so he is an atheist.
Did he have a show? Did he have a show on the Atheist Community of Austin's channel, or am I thinking of another Phil?
I don't actually know too much about Phil Torres. He's a biologist, science communicator, photographer, and television host, if this is the same guy.
With an S at the end?
Yes, Torres with an S.
Biologist, science communicator, is that it? Okay.
If this is the same guy. So let's see. Just want to make sure. I don't think that's featured in Vice for Potfly, featured in ABC Nightline. I don't think this is the same guy.
No. The thing is, we were talking about Dawkins. That guy really blurred the line between scientists and assholes with political opinions that are somewhat have become relevant for I don't know any reason. Why is he qualified to talk about like eugenics? I mean, you all know what I think about that dude, but maybe Tony doesn't know, but I hate his fucking guts. That's clear enough.
Yeah, my understanding, what I can submit for consideration is that Dawkins is part of like a relationship between liberals and fascists, which is about tame the savages. There is a liberal order, usually an aristocratic order that has a noble project to tame the savages. They're going to bring civility, blah, blah, blah.
Well, he was born and raised in colonial Africa.
Yeah, he's a Downton Abbey liberal. I'm going to help you by completely fucking you over and putting a
I don't think he even really wants to help people that much. I think he's just a conservative. And I think he's a Republican who doesn't identify with Republicans, one, because he's British, and two, because he's an atheist. But I think otherwise he's pretty much a Republican.
Yeah.
I don't know that he even...
He's a classical liberal. He's a classical liberal. That's a universal liberal ideology. Right-wing capitalist.
Now I have a Sargon echo in my head.
Yeah. He's a classical liberal. Paternalist liberalism. Genocide with a bow tie on. Yeah.
Oh, he would never wear a bow tie. He's an open collar sort of guy. He's relaxed and casual.
Marty, you about to jump in and say something?
Yes.
I was going to say, can we give a bit more context? Because
yes. Okay. So Phil Torres, philosopher and author. Philosopher and author who focus on existential risks to civilization and humanity. And he published an article recently in Salon titled "Godless Grifters."
Oh, so he's a sociologist.
No, a philosopher, not a sociologist.
Yeah.
Godless Grifters, how the new atheists
there's
merged with the far
half-naked
right.
man behind you, John. Hi, sir.
Oh, hey, Caleb, you're on camera. You're on YouTube.
Don't hide the eye candy.
This is why I have my door closed, which is gonna make me suffer because the Pacific Northwest is having a heat wave. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, everyone's having a heat wave because capitalism.
Yeah.
All right.
There's that, but yeah.
So how the new atheists merged with the far right. And then he goes through.
New though.
No, but he goes through and he lists a whole lot of people in the new atheist community, the thought leaders. Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, Steven Pinker, Michael Shermer, Lawrence
all
Krauss.
the rapists. It's amazing.
Yeah, James Lindsay. Basically, he goes through and lists all the worst people, and he describes some of the ways they're awful, shitty people, to say that, look, a significant portion of the new atheist community is far right. And he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone here disagree with that.
I mean, the new atheist king himself was on Twitter saying how amazing eugenics are. I mean,
well,
you gotta remember that the arc of new atheism was it started as theoretically as a revolt against Christian conservatism, and then now it became a reconfigured fascism for Jewish intellectuals to replay the Holocaust with Muslims as Jewish people. It's the same rhetoric. It's just it's a way to complete the process of Jews becoming white Americans. But
I think only one of those guys is at all Jewish. Sam Harris.
No, Pinker's Jewish.
Okay.
Again, I sound like a fucking Nazi. But
well, but they will be the first to tell you that they don't
here.
identify as Jewish because identity politics is bad. But you can't criticize them for identity politics stuff because they're Jewish.
They are ethno-nationalists for Judaism as an ethnic group, not a religious group. And furthermore, like I said, this has happened for every group. I'm half Italian American. My mother came here in the 60s, but the generation before her that was in this country, they went through a ritualization into whiteness. This is for Jews a culmination of the Jews as white. That's what before the alt-right and alt-right split, they were all the alt-right.
That's complicated because you don't have a lot of Sepharad Jews in the US. You mostly have Ashkenazis that are white.
Yes.
Lighter skinned, yes. But I mean, I think even now,
the Jews are right. I'm just saying that this is for the Ashkenazi to ritualize themselves to complete the cycle of no, we're Hitler now. This is the Israeli cycle. Like we're Hitler now. We're going to be the ones that this time, and it's common amongst trauma, right? This time we're going to relive the trauma with me holding the bullwhip. This is like deep neurotic. But only the right wing is really the ideology. I'm by no means validating the concept of whiteness. I'm just saying it's like they're doing theater. You know?
I mean, I think Jews will always have a very tenuous place when it comes to whiteness. Because I mean, no matter how hard they try, they'll never have the same place as Italians, the Irish, and so on, who all did get accepted into whiteness.
Yeah, kinda.
Well, Italians.
Wait.
Italians, they blended their skin color down over time. Like Italians in the 1900s were Mexican-looking people. They were like dark hair.
Well, Southern Italians are much darker than Northern Italians.
That's who came to this country. That's who the hysteria was about. It was Southern Italians, and these were like Latin or Middle Eastern looking Mediterranean people. They mixed out later and became more Eurocentric in America.
Well, I mean, just because they blended with the population at large. I mean, that's just the way it works. You fuck the people who you're next to.
Marty was trying to say something.
Yeah, sorry, Marty.
Well, no, I was just going to say, I don't know. I mean, because I tend to think that people that are Jewish and that get what you'd call hate crimed, they usually do it because they're known to be Jewish, not because you ID them. It's that because more often than not in the USA, they're white. They're seen as white first.
Unless
And
they
they're
are
only-
visibly, wearing symbols associated with Judaism or
Yeah, that's
are
called
etymos or not mosque, temple.
racialization. I
Mhm.
put my teeth on today, and I don't know how to talk anymore.
But Julie, I want to ask you: in France,
Yeah.
is being Jewish a discernible
Oh,
visual
it's
presentation?
so fucking complicated here. There's a collective guilt around the Pétain regime here.
Mm.
And even people who are very anti-Semitic, there's no conspiracy theories about Jews in France, Well, no, not. It's quiet, if it is, because anti-Semitism is shameful.
Mm-hmm. Although you go back 100 years and say, hey, this European country.
Not even 100 years.
No, you go, but 100 years, you go back, you say, this European country is about to become a fascist regime that will kill 6 million Jews. And people say, yeah, France is pretty awful.
Yeah. That's complicated. Being anti-Semitic is shameful, but that doesn't mean
they just keep it
doesn't
quiet.
Exist. Yeah, it's quiet, but that's only, I think, because Muslims are shut on so much more.
They're the new, and that was the point Tony was making, that Muslims are the new Jews when it comes to
new Jews.
Yes and no,
fascism.
because hate crimes against.
Julie.
Oh,
I heard
God, don't make me repeat it.
I heard it all.
Did I answer your
I heard
question?
yes, thank you. I heard it. Yes.
Thank you.
So we got a special treat that you all didn't get.
The people on the call got
Margie
to hear
did a
Julie.
show.
Nobody else did. I don't think.
I mean, no, how French people
Yeah, we know
are
French people.
regarding that part of history.
They acknowledge that Vichy France was bad and pretend and they try to apologize for it.
No, you didn't try to apologize.
I want to see that, a French person apologizing.
Oh, fuck you.
Oh, I was waiting for it. I knew it was coming. It had to come.
We lost the. I know. I thought we lost the.
No, there's John's broadcast internet. No, the broadcast.
My internet crapped out for a minute, but we're still going.
Yeah. Everything is so good. So new atheism, as it were,
has definitely merged with the far right. There was always a strong right-wing
Oh yes,
trend
that's
in
not
new
even
atheism.
like controversial. Is that why Thomas shut his pants because a dude said that?
No, he and Eli.
Can you give some context as far as the whole when you're bringing in Thomas and Eli and that whole and Ina especially.
So Thomas responded to the article. He had kind of a weird take. When he saw new atheism merge with the far right, he read that as all new atheists are far right.
Oh my God.
I think it's because
I really don't like that dude. I'm sorry, but
oh yeah, I don't like that dude either. But I think it's because both Eli and Thomas personally identify, I am an atheist. I am Thomas Smith, atheist. As well,
I think that new atheism was more than just the big rich guys doing their shows and talks. It really was, I think, a movement that sprang up after 9/11. Marty,
yeah, okay, so 2000 onwards is what you're saying.
I mean, we had all these conferences, we had rallies, we had activism. I think a lot of people really did identify very strongly with it. It was more than just those guys. I saw it as a community, a diverse and ultimately unstable community, because it included progressives and bigots.
Yeah.
And that's why it fell apart in the aftermath of elevator and shit like that.
What you believe, your personal spiritual beliefs shouldn't be the core of your identity, right?
Well, tell that to Christians.
But you.
No, the Christians are morons. That's not even in that. Just because some people are wrong doesn't mean you have to be more wrong to one of them.
You were going to say something there, Marty?
Yeah, sorry.
What's important here, I think, is we need to have context in that. In 2012, Atheism Plus came along, and that was a community saying
we deliberately want to be progressive.
It's social justice plus humanism.
It was after Elevator Gate, right?
Elevator Gate was late 2011,
2010, I think.
Yeah. Well, it was 20. The concept originated. I'm looking at the Rational Wiki on it. It says August of 2012 from a blog post from Jen.
No, but I mean, Atheism Plus was born from the
Elevator Gate was summer of 2011, and Atheism Plus was summer of 2012.
Yeah, but I mean, it was created, quote unquote, because of the less progressive people. I mean, Elevator Gate was a catalyst for that.
It sparked off the whole thing.
Yeah, you have to understand too that Elevator Gate specifically happened at a conference, and the video from that conference from Rebecca Watson went viral. And that took some time.
Fucking Richard Dawkins.
Yeah, and his fucking letter that, oh my god.
Oh, dear Muslima. Oh my god.
But
Can
you have
I
to
break his knees?
Sorry for the reparation. 46A, no uncoded messages over open channels. If you want to,
that's bad OPSEC. Yes.
I'm in France. I don't care. The FBI can touch me.
CIA will come after you though.
Yeah,
I was gonna say
they'll do an Allende on you.
Have you ever heard of black sites?
I don't think the knees of Richard Dawkins are that precious.
He's rich and white. You'd be surprised.
I'm white too. I'm not rich, but I'm white.
No, you're Italian. You're not white.
Half Italian.
All right. But yeah, I mean,
what half is Italian?
What's
Which
that?
parent?
My dad.
Okay. My mom's from Lombardy.
Oh, I'm half Sicilian.
Small world, huh?
Yeah, I mean Italians. After Second World War, they
everywhere
immigrated. They fucked off that fucking country to all over the world.
Yes, you are a wolf, Tabby. But yeah, it's like I remember PZ Myers on his blog shared Rebecca's video saying this is important. People need to listen. Yeah, he's a great guy.
He's good.
He's a leftist, like an actual leftist, not a liberal.
Yeah, I do believe PZ Myers is actual leftist. Yeah, but continue.
He posted that, and the comments under that were just a complete shit show. That's where Dawkins posted his letter, but there were like hundreds of comments. I remember sending him an email saying, "PZ, you might want to put a tamper on this. Everything is blowing up. It's going fucking bug nuts there." And that's why, that's one of the things that, said it was a community. It was a whole lot of people, not just those guys. There was a lot of people.
Yeah, that was kind of a shitty community though. Like everything that is led and mostly comprised of white dudes. I'm sorry, but it's not your fault. But
but then
you that sucks, dude.
Yeah, and the following year was just a great big conversation, a shit show, a turmoil, a splitting of the community. When came up with Atheism Plus, and then you got the go broke crowd, and a new atheism fell apart there in 2011, 2012.
Well, and that was, for me, that was where the split happened. And the conversation that Thomas and Eli seem to be having is that shit didn't happen, that there wasn't such a thing as the slime pit, that it actually was a site dedicated to going after PZ Myers and the people over at his blog.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't really read it that way, because I think their objection is that they acknowledge. I mean, like Thomas went through his
come
episode.
on. Their objection is basically not all new atheists.
John, their basic argument is not all men. I mean,
pretty much,
it's a variation of that.
Like I said, I don't really agree with their. I don't agree with their take, but I think their read is that for some reason they see merge as become identical with.
And that is such a pedantic take.
That's because they're white men. No, I'm not joking. I know they are not right wingers.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, they're liberals, so they are.
No, but I mean, they're not
far
Republicans.
Right.
They have an interest in social justice and all of that. Okay, but they're both not.
But I think Marty is absolutely right that this is kind of a not all men response. They're saying, "Wait, you're saying new atheism merged with the far right? I'm part of new atheism. I'm not far right."
And they wanted to make it out like Phil. Who is this guy? And it's like he was around in the atheist community before Eli or Thomas were.
Mm-hmm. And
as far as being known.
Yeah. I think their read on merged is weird, but you kind of get it. There's a lot of times when we do use merge to mean become one thing. Companies undergo a merger. They're one company. You merge with traffic. You're part of traffic. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's the correct take. It's understandable, but I think it's weird and ultimately not defensible.
Well, and I think Ina did a podcast episode.
Mm-hmm. I'll get that for podcast episode.
Mm-hmm.
And she basically went and because Thomas made this episode that basically that was his take on it, and she wasn't attacking him, but his argument. She wasn't attacking him personally. She was attacking his argument.
I find the way when I listened to it, I found it really insulting. Actually,
I didn't
from the title, like actually, and then when she went on her 15 minutes.
Do you know what that's from? Do you know what that kind of?
I think she was mocking the actually mansplaining thing. That's what I thought.
Well, yeah. How is that insulting?
Well, I'm saying that she was sort of accusing Thomas of mansplaining, and then when she, for example,
that's what he does, though.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah, and that's why I think it was kind of an attack on him.
Maybe you should stop mansplaining then. Instead of being offended when someone points it
his
out.
argument was basically because he's a liberal and they don't understand left and right. He was like, yes, they're shitty bigots and sexual predators. How does that make them right wing?
Data Doll says, we are not all far right. Have you seen this channel with 40 subscribers? Yeah, that's kind of... Data Doll sent me a lot of porn on Twitter. That's all I'm going to say. I love her.
Because I had terrible porn recommendations for Julie, so yes.
But then Ina's response was, here's more examples of how they're shitty.
Who is Ina?
Ina does a podcast called Polite Conversations. She talks about being an ex-Muslim in a movement that fetishizes ex-Muslims so long as they attack Islam.
She's cool. I like her.
And lately she's done one called Woking Up. It's a mini series.
Yep, attacks Sam Harris.
She doesn't attack him. She literally takes apart what he says.
She's demonstrating how he's a shitty person who is far right.
Who?
Sam Harris.
Sam Harris.
Oh.
Yep.
The guy that pals
around. Woking
around.
Up is a pun on his podcast, Waking Up. Yeah.
Charles Murray, the race.
Sam Harris, definitely far right.
With that kind of leaders, how is someone comfortable not all manning it?
Well, because there's a lot of us who aren't right wing, who were part of the new atheist community.
Yeah. Shit,
Yes, but it's
like I
not
said, their
right.
take is weird. I don't really, I don't get how
I mean,
they necessarily
okay,
got
but
there. But once
do
you
you
get
feel
there,
targeted by
no, I don't, but they clearly do.
filters thing?
I don't, but
see,
they clearly
John,
do.
Yeah, but if they do,
the-
maybe it's because they have reasons to be.
Well, I mean,
I-
like Eli Bosnick isn't far right. I don't know if you know who he is. He's part of the Puzzle in a Thunderstorm crew.
I know is. I don't like
Yeah.
him either.
Yeah, I'm not.
He's
a big fan of
advocating for kissing Nazis and be nice to them because being mean to people is spent at the time where Garrett still had his channel where his show where he invited people.
the stupid tweets show that like Garrett did.
He invited Eli once, and Eli told a story about how he was.
I don't remember Garrett inviting Eli Bosnick onto like his stupid tweet shows. That I don't remember.
It was maybe, I don't remember where it was. Anyways, maybe it was on Steve's channel.
It could be because like Eli Bosnick has been on Steve's channel and Christy Winter's channel.
Oh, Christy, maybe. I don't know. Someone I used to watch, okay?
Is that like that song?
I'm heavily medicated, okay? Be patient.
Is it like that song, Somebody That I Used to Know?
Yeah. Well, I still like Steve and Garrett.
Yeah, everybody still likes Steve. I think that most people think Steve Shotton is okay. He's not a saint, but he's adapted very well.
He's a fucking liberal, but like it.
Well, yeah, but he's adapted more than the others in terms of moving a little to the left. You know, he didn't go where Christy Winters went, which holy shit, you know.
And I think Steve Shafts is also emblematic of the falling apart of New Atheism because he basically stopped doing atheist content after that.
Well, also he wanted to join Atheism Plus and took the financial hit to say no, let's embrace feminism and be more progressive. Or he didn't go the route of T.J. Kirk or Thunderfoot or the other atheists as well, and called them out as well.
Anyways, maybe it's on Corey's podcast. Anyways,
Corey Johnson. Corey Johnson probably was. Eli Bosnick probably was on Corey Johnson's podcast.
I heard him explain how there was this guy who was a Nazi who was going after Eli because he was Jewish.
But
and Eli explained that he was just nice to the guy, and thanks to his niceness, well, now the guy isn't a Nazi anymore. And honestly, dude, that's why he felt like entitled to tell rape survivors to suck it up about Biden. Fuck him. I really don't like that dude.
Yeah, Tom Smith. Eli Bosnick definitely does that.
Thomas and Eli, I don't like them because of that. Really, that they are way too privileged to.
I'll never be able to understand the be nice to Nazis thing after sort of the years that I've sort of examined that stuff.
But don't you realize that you can debate Nazis? I mean, World War II was all about the debate field.
Well, it was a war of words. It really was.
To be fair, I don't think that's their argument, but
but I think
it's still nonsensical because it's moralizing the rightful anger of some people. Just because he's okay being nice to Nazis, even though he's a Jew, doesn't mean everyone has to be nice to their oppressor.
Here's the thing. He has the privilege of being able to do that.
He's know, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, he's not in a position as basically a white guy. This is the biggest problem I have with this whole discussion is like there's this ownership of new atheism that doesn't take into context that there was a whole bunch of people that basically felt alienated. And I mean, P.Z. Myers, in retorting Eli Bosnick, said, wow, because Eli said, I'm incredibly sorry you've never had the experiences you've had in the I'm incredibly sorry you've had the experiences you've had in the movement. I wish you had seen the love and the activism I've had the privilege to see, but you are welcome anywhere I have a voice. You are valid and loved, even if we disagree. And PZ Myers comes back and says, wow, I never saw any, quote, love or activism, unquote, until I got away from it. My experience, blacklisting, hatred, daily abusive email, and death threats. I'm glad you escaped the worst of the nastiness of the atheist movement. I still receive it all the time.
Mhm.
And he isn't even a woman or a person of color.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
He's
But-
a white dude. So imagine what's her name?
Rebecca.
No,
Walton?
the woman
Anaya.
who works with PZ.
Oh, I don't know who works with like
What?
PZ Myers.
The blonde woman was awesome.
Oh,
Oh
I don't
my-
know that person.
There's Stephanie Svan.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay. I like her. She's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she took so much more shit than him.
Mm-hmm.
What? And that's the thing. I mean, literally, there are people that I'll just, my experience was that I came into the community around that time and saw that. And I was like, you know what? I don't, because I had just come, I don't know if people know or know of Trans Advocate, but that's a site I created. And I had a pretty loud voice within the American LGBT community.
Yeah, Miss Obama.
And well,
Traitor.
but yeah.
I'm joking.
But then it's called progression. It happens. But like literally, I went into the atheist community and was trying to become involved within the community itself, and it was like, oh, you're trans. We don't want to hear from you. I mean, literally, the only places that I really feel like I had a voice were places like Skeptics and but it was on the periphery. Again, you're talking about, there was this split after Elevator Gate of the community, the secular community, and people just felt like there were a lot of people that just felt like they were
Hated.
Yeah, not respected. And I did a show last night, and there's a capricious nerd teacher basically came back and said the same thing, that they felt like literally like they tried to come into the atheist community and it's like that baby that runs into the room and then turns around and runs right back out. I don't know if you guys have seen that meme, but that's what I did when I saw this shit. I was like, oh, I'm out.
Nope.
I don't need this. Yeah, exactly.
Nope.
And I don't think that's unusual. I don't think that's I think that's the norm for anybody that isn't a straight white dude.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Especially when you see who were the most successful YouTubers, atheist YouTubers. It's not for nothing that I had the amazing atheist in top of my mind when you asked me. Steve wasn't representative of atheist YouTubers.
He was the minority and he got punished.
Yeah, he was a minority. TJ Kirk was.
If you look very carefully, Sargon was never an atheist YouTuber. He never made videos about atheism. He somehow became the Pope of skepticism. He never gave a fuck about religion in his life.
No, that's because he attacked feminists, and that was a huge part of the atheist
He came in the
audience.
wake of the armored skeptic declaring feminism a religion. And then he just, but he has no problem with Christians, none, zero.
I mean, Thunderfoot is, I mean,
there was a huge segment of the new atheist community that just shit
I
labels.
discovered the new atheist, the atheist community. I discovered it was a thing by watching Garrett, because he did feminist stuff. And it was so weird to me at first. I mean, the atheist community, the thing is so normal in my country that it got some used to.
Yeah, the US is just wild. Yeah, Marty.
Yeah.
The reason the atheist community exists in the United States is because religion is so dominant.
No, I know now.
So embedded and powerful. Yeah.
At first, it's.
I
don't know. It's surprising at first when you don't know that culture as much as in Europe. We are pretty well. Not now, but Marty, you watch TV or not?
I do.
So you know how the US is represented in Europe regarding religion. It's not accurately. They don't play it a lot. The craziness of US religious craziness.
Oh yeah. Well, see, here's the thing.
It's not as downplayed as like 5-10 years ago, but
if you're talking about California or New York or Boston,
where there's normal people, I know.
But if you're talking the middle of the country, if you're talking Arkansas, Indiana, Idaho,
once you get out of any city anywhere, you are in the middle of right-wing religious shitwittery.
I mean, that's kind of true for any country, I think. In France too, in the countryside, it's still more religious than in the cities. But your country really has to up everyone on that front. Well, maybe not Saudi Arabia, but
I think it's because the U.S. was built to be a right-wing country.
The only country I can compare to the U.S. is Saudi Arabia.
Our allies.
Yeah, I think Americans have this unique thing where they can shut off this part of their brain where they can't compare and see. They'll say, "Oh, those extremist Muslims, they're
terrorists,
their religion." Yeah,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I mean, I grew up in Indiana, and literally,
I don't even know where Indiana is on a map.
Middle
you
of the
don't want
country.
to know. You don't want to know.
I'm going to.
It's west of Ohio.
I don't know where Ohio is. We already had that discussion. Your country is a pain in the ass.
South of Michigan.
Virginia, Ohio, Indiana.
But literally,
It's around there.
I know where your state is, Tom.
Okay.
I have seen people
one over and one down.
I have
to the east.
I have seen people slain in the spirit. I don't know if you know what that is. That's where people roll around and basically I thought they
went to a charismatic
seizures.
church.
The ones who look like they are having an epilepsy attack.
Yes, yes,
So-
that's what I thought was going on. I was like, "Is this person okay?" Yeah, they're fine. Blah 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 blah.
Ooh, okay, Kentucky, Tennessee, I see.
But that's not unusual in that part of the country. It's not a rarity. I mean, it's and John's right. It's outside of the cities, but I mean, you have Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, South Bend, Gary, and that's it. The rest of the state is like 92% white. It's and it's very, very, very religious to the point of LGBT people not being safe. I mean, black people being not being safe.
We had Mike Pence as your governor.
Yes, I mean, like literally, he was the guy that
she lives in a half civilized country now.
Well, and I had a discussion last night with one of my friends, and I was just like, you know what, I could never see myself going back to the United States, and the biggest part is that here I don't have to deal with any of that religious bullshit. It's
Yeah,
just
church fellowship,
Even though you have a state religion in your country now,
oh,
which
it's
is not the case of the US, which is
yes,
funny.
but it's on par with Catholicism in the United States. It's something nobody ever talks about unless they're going to mass on Christmas or.
I was
you know
shocked.
what I mean?
I was shocked to find out that other denominations drink grapefruit for the transubstantiation instead
Not
of
always.
wine.
Some of them drink grapefruit. Some of them
Grapefruit?
or grape juice.
Grape juice. Grapefruit.
Some do drink wine, but yeah, there are a lot of teetotaler churches out there that refuse to do wine during communion.
Yeah.
Well, being from Indiana, like literally, like I was shocked the first time I went to a Catholic bingo night. And they
So
they
American.
drink. The
they drink
Catholics,
heavily.
they drink.
Oh
Drink,
yes.
Oh yeah.
drink, and there were lots of gambling and booze going on.
Yep.
And the
that
temperance
shocked-
movement, just as a side note, historical thing, temperance was an anti-immigrant movement because of the Italians with their wine, the Germans with their beer, the Irish with their whiskey. And so temperance was really
French with their
bigotry.
fermented cheese.
I think we should take into account that when we talk about like the American church, when you examine the divesting of white Christians out of it and the disillusionment, there is a handshake. The relationship of the American Christianity is settler colonialism with a little Christian pin on the lapel.
Oh my God!
Mostly settler colonialist ideology with every so often Jesus says. But like if we're talking substantially, it is hyper individualistic. It is an anti Christianity.
Jesus,
it is against all the values.
Actually existed, he would have fucking hated them.
Basically, when we think Christianity in the U.S., we're mostly talking Republican Christianity.
Yes.
Because they're the ones who are really vocal. They're the ones who are super political. They're the ones who want to exercise their power and be fascist. And really, we're talking the KKK.
There is a Christian left in the US, but they're so, I mean, the left, the plain left in the US is so small, but the Christian left is probably even smaller. But I know there's a Facebook page that's called the Christian Left, and they're pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who take away from it. Yeah. Go ahead, Marty.
I was going to say that's the equivalent of atheism plus.
Hated, derided, ultimately ignored and destroyed.
And small too.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, that's the thing as far as the whole atheist debate goes, that I new atheism thing goes, I see it as like these cis white guys really like this label and they're going to protect it.
Yes.
And they feel ownership with it, and they don't like any criticism because like Eli and Thomas, they don't go into those histories of people in the community like Rebecca Watson, like PZ. I mean, you can go down the line of people that were
abused.
Yeah. Yes. I'm trying to think of the other
Jim McCrite.
Christina.
Greta Christina.
Greta
Christina. Yeah. People like her being run out of the movement essentially.
Which
and
I find kind of surprising since Thomas went to
MythCon.
Yeah. Because it traumatized him. And I thought,
but he doesn't get that abuse on the regular.
Yes,
so I don't think he internalized it.
I thought
it
would make him think more. Well, before, when I saw the election, that was, you have been traumatized by Trump too much, and the liberals have lost their shit with Biden. That's the thing we saw with Christie. That was so painful. And I think that's something that a lot of American liberals have gone through regarding Biden and being kind of assholes with leftists.
Yeah,
No,
we
I'm
have
talking
Biden
about
now.
Thomas
You need to
here.
stop.
Let's be clear. And Eli.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know that. I guess one traumatism isn't enough. It's sad to say, but MythCon was, I mean, when he came back from MythCon, I listened to his podcast at the time, and it was hard to it on him that
he got a
did he
lot of shit,
forget-
but only in that immediate environment, I think.
Did he
It
forget?
didn't last.
It didn't last. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but those people were all new atheists. Well,
I don't know if they were. They were Sargon fans. And Sargon, as Tony said, wasn't really part of the atheism movement.
Yes, but he
Never,
was.
not even a little bit.
I think the MythCon guys consider themselves new atheists, though. The MythCon
Yes.
I think they would. Yeah, I haven't listened to them in years, but because they went
Good.
so far to the right.
Oh yeah, they
so
did.
fast.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, they went from
Yes,
being
but,
annoying
I mean,
to.
their inviting Sargon was a symptom of that.
I mean, basically, I think they had this one big donor that sort of took over and pushed them to the right. And their podcasts started, just randomly, while they were in the middle of a conversation, they would go in and insult the libs and then go back to talking stuff. And then they just went,
well,
boom,
before that
Sargon.
conference, though, I think they realized after that conference what a fucking moneymaker that they had on their hands. That exactly what Phil is saying happened. I mean, that's why MythCon has become a thing, is because the audience, and this is something that like, because I kind of raked Christiosity over the coals about it, because she was saying, well, knowing the history and everything, and I'm like, it's still fucking going on today. Like, literally, you can look at the stuff that just went on last year with the community in Austin, and how
that was
like
such
literally
a piece of shit.
What happened?
The atheist community of Austin used the Matt Dillahunty.
Oh yes, okay.
Yeah, they had their call-in show. They used to have a whole lot of gay people
longest
on their show, and
yeah,
then
one of
they
the
brought
longest shows.
Yep.
One of the. They went back to like fucking
the early
VSH
90s
tapes. Yeah.
Yeah. You said Matt Dillahunty. I'm
they brought in Rationality Rules. People said, "Hey, he's really transphobic," and then the atheist community of Austin basically kicked out everyone in the group that was queer in any way.
Or
Did
they
they come
left.
out, or did the people leave? My sense was that a lot of them just left.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they actually literally kicked them out, but they changed the bylaws. They elected a new president. They went full bore. We're going to support the Rationality Rules guy, and so they just made it clear we don't care about queer folks.
Heard about that, but that's because
me neither.
Atheist isn't part of my identity. It's just something I am, and
So
yeah, it's normal here. So
they lost pretty much all the awesome people in their community on the show. Yeah, and they just became a right-wing organization.
But that's where the money's at. I mean, that's literally like
that's the difference between the right and the left. The right will always give money to hateful bigots. The left doesn't show nearly as much support for decent people.
Well, we all fucking poor, so
Nobody has. I was going to say that nobody has the money. Poor people's movement is never going to have like a deep revenue base. It's the poor people movement.
That's for me. That's why, like, literally, when we're talking about the context of this, it's happening right now. It happened in the past, and there's things in this that people don't, like Eli and Thomas, don't want to talk about. They want to whitewash the whole thing and not discuss that history that's obviously there, and they'll sit there and go, well, why is this movement full of a bunch of white people that are on the right? I just don't understand it. And you've literally pushed all the marginalized communities out and said, fuck you. It's non-belief, and that's all it is. Goodbye. See you later. We don't care about your social justice.
I think I'm going to bring it back to like last month when Garrett had Christiosity and Captain Andy on to discuss the smaller feminist social justice YouTube community and how that one split. Because I think in the New Atheism, they all were together on what did they oppose? They opposed religious fundamentalism.
They were united on opposing Muslims.
Well, yeah, that's true. Very true. About like, and the small YouTube feminist social justice community were together on what they opposed, which was reactionaries. But what were there for? That's where the split happened as well, as well as what the atheist community is too.
Yeah, but I don't think you can create a community that will last on something you're not.
Yeah,
I mean, you still have, the Freedom from Religion Foundation, Secular America, I can't remember the name of their organization. You do have those advocacy groups, but they're not saying, hey, we're here to be atheist. They're saying, we are here to fight against the religious shitwittery of the Republican Party, more or less.
Yeah.
They have a specific purpose rather than an idea.
Secularism is politics. Atheism is not politics. Atheism is posture, it's aesthetic, it's identity, it's culture. Secularism is a political position that has nothing to do with whether you believe in God or not. Atheism is like, again, it's posturing. You know what I mean?
I am rational.
Yeah,
get rid of that trilby, you motherfucker.
Well, that's the thing, though. When you're talking about, and this is there's, Carl Sagan said that there's a way of that science is a way of kind of thinking.
Oh, come on, citing Carl Sagan. You're going to, are you trying to shame us all?
Hold on. Bear with me. You're
on a podcast where we talk about farts, okay? Stop making your Carl Sagan.
You talk about farts.
We can bring it back to that.
Well, I usually talk about masturbation, but I mean, I'm trying to be serious, but
sorry.
And I emphasize trying, but
trying to masturbate. How do you?
That's after the show, Tom.
That's a different show. I know.
Not on YouTube. They won't allow it.
No.
That's and just remember, Tom, it's $1.99 a minute.
I know. I get a cut though. So
talking about that, I got new dildos.
Oh, I'm sorry, Marty. This is
sorry.
Way sideways.
David in the chat says Sagan is Klingon for farts.
Really quick, Julie, I think you'll like this. There is an Etsy shop where they make Mass Effect themed dildos.
Oh yeah, I already have.
We definitely liked it.
Well, I mean, I'm not surprised that exists because, like, I didn't get it from Etsy, but I already have like my alien themed fleshlight. I'm not going to show on stream.
Okay, let's not. Marty, go ahead.
Carl Sagan said.
Yeah, Carl Sagan said, "Extraordinary claims require extraordinary dildos."
Yeah.
I exactly. The link
I don't
on
think
Facebook,
he said that. Now I'm just imagining Carl Sagan's Kama Sutra, but I don't know where that came from.
Extraordinary orgasms. Billions of sperm.
Vibrating.
Mind blown.
Sorry. Let's go.
God, don't set him up like that if you don't want him knocked down. Marty, go ahead.
So, Carl,
take us out of this mire. Go back to sanity.
So basically, what I was getting at with Sagan, he said that rationality is a way of and science is a kind of a way of thinking and a way of processing things that's rational. But if you look at this community, I mean, things like Shermer, Michael Shermer, the whole where he was trying to like get the trans people by going around and pushing this fake paper about penises. I forget the invisible penis.
The conceptual hope. The conceptual penis.
Yes, the conceptual
James
penis.
One. Yeah.
James
Isn't
Lindsay
that
and Peter Boghossian.
Rhodes thing? Oh no.
It's supposed to be detachable penis.
And like they're not going to the science. They're not going to the science when it comes to trans rights, when it comes to trans people in sports, when it comes to all these things. They aren't.
Trans people don't exist really. So
it's performative, but not actual skepticism.
Yes, exactly. And that to me is like where these people are at right now. Because when I was talking about Matt Dillahunty, I saw a change in him. He was really supportive of trans rights before he realized that his community wasn't, and the people that pay his bills, the people that send him to conferences, the people that invite him to those conferences. I mean, for fuck's sake, he got up on stage and did a tour with Jordan Peterson for money. I mean, that's literally
still not died of scurvy. Context for Tony. I genuinely thought Jordan Peterson died of scurvy.
Me too. I thought he died of fucking when he was in a coma in Russia. Then he just shows up. He's like, oh, really flat affect. Oh, I'm fine. I'm feeling much better. I'm gonna have a steak, and that's it. Everything was like fucking normal. He just went back to making podcasts. Everything was okay, and just again, if you think about it, it's like a H.P. Lovecraft. When looking into the void, it'll collapse your brain.
Well, if you have a look though, for somebody that says how to have a good life, the dude is like the worst example of it.
Oh my god, yes. Depression, anxiety, coma,
drug abuse.
Well, that last thing, the benzo addiction, that's the actual thing I'm sad for him. That's no one deserves benzo addiction, but
No.
Other than that, I mean, he made his bed.
You need to remember that what happens here is that they don't go all the way, right? So what happen is they kill God and they put themselves on the throne. And you put yourself on the throne, this is like even worse, right? Because now you've holistically sealed yourself off. And
you might not want to say the throne, because you're making me think of Elvis and how he died.
Right, well, yeah, exactly. No, but that's actually what I mean.
You're not allowed to wish that they would die, Marty. That's not cool.
Liberal subjectivity.
Yeah, don't do that. That makes them live longer.
Liberal subjectivity is a fate worse than death, because it breaks you out into a little unit and then floats you into the ocean of the universe. That's why he needs to self-medicate.
Jordan Peterson isn't even an atheist, isn't he?
No, I don't think so.
No,
that's a great question.
Wait,
what the fuck would Dillahunty? He's not an atheist.
No, he's a Christian. No.
Why the fuck would
Christian,
Dillahunty do stuff with him?
Money.
No,
exactly.
But what's the reason he gave?
Money.
It's the circus. It's the circus.
No, I think
because
they were
Jordan
going
Peterson,
and they would talk and gap an audience.
Oh, they were supposedly debating, I guess.
Jordan Peterson has this hot book out that all the alt-righties.
No, but I don't give a shit about him. I'm just wondering what Dillahunty said,
because he knows his audience,
to his atheist audience.
That's what I'm saying, though. That's the connection here. They're the same.
Mm-hmm.
They're not people. Atheists if they will listen to a Christian like Peterson.
Well, Peterson has said, asked if he was a Christian, I suppose the most straightforward answer to that is yes. When asked if he believes in God, he said, I think the proper response to that is no, but I'm afraid he might exist. He's weird.
He's an agnostic atheist.
He's a fucking, he is a secular evangelist. He has distilled evangelism down into its most honest form, which is like pure grift. Fuck God, fuck everything. Listen to me. I'm God. You know what I mean? He's a pure like demigod, right?
Oh, well, Jordan says Jordan Peterson did die. He just came back as a lich. That sounds. Yeah.
When was that?
believe
About
it.
2012?
Well, that's when he came back as a leech. No, leech.
But I definitely I see this as like a connect the fucking dots. You can see how Jordan Peterson's fans, because those are basically alt-right conservatives that they don't want a Rush Limbaugh conservatism. They want something that is set up more to their bigotry in this, in 2020, 2021.
They want a more secular Nazism.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Modern bigotry.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like a liberal. Basically, they want to successfully preserve liberalism. They don't want it to break down into anything that would disrupt them from shopping. This is, of course, this is like customer service fascism of the liberal. Like, oh, I want to shop, so I don't want to have to kill the Jews. Can we just shame them, and then I can continue playing Xbox Live? It's like a lazy ideology.
Yeah. I don't know if he ever specifically identified as intellectual dark web, David. Did Jordan Peterson, did he hide in the bushes with Sam Harris and Michael Shermer?
I don't have a sense of that.
That's bold of you to assume he's an intellectual, though.
Well,
But that's kind of true for all the intellectual dark web. Wasn't Ben Shapiro on it?
I think it's kind of like BreadTube, though. I think there are certain people that whether you,
I don't
whether
want to
they
talk about
ID'd
BreadTube.
that.
It's going to make me angry again.
Well, but
yeah, it's
in
a
the
small
context
group of people who identify. It's loosely affiliated, and people sort of drift in and out.
Yeah, that's a grift.
And they might not say. Well, it's the same grift, though. I think.
Yes and no. But I was thinking, the new atheism, well, the atheist community at large, it kind of reminds me of the gamers. Not in the
There were
sense that
there's a lot of overlap there, yeah.
But
Yes.
the community is shit.
Crossover.
I mean, when I'm a gamer, but when I hear people shitting on gamers, I tend to agree, not taking it for myself.
Yeah.
That's why
New atheism was a weird thing. I mean, I think it was only possible because of 9/11.
Yeah. And
because there was this big trauma that was explicitly motivated, at least in part, by religion. Or at least explicitly identified
they say
with
it was.
religion.
It really wasn't.
Am I the only one that people used to say, like, after 9/11, and it almost got to me to be a meme, due to the tragic events of 9/11.
Yeah, I remember it's like that was the Republican thing was 9/11, 9/11, 9/11, 9/11, 9/11, 9/11, 9/11.
Yeah.
That's when Muslims became the villains in every fucking movie and TV
And that's
show.
that was a big part of New Atheism, was focusing on the evils of Islam. I mean, that was Sam Harris's entire thing for a decade.
Yeah, but okay, that's something I could have gotten behind. Not really, but if he hadn't advocated for, I don't know,
torture, nuking the Middle East, and racial profiling.
Yes. How do you profile a Muslim?
Well,
if you're not
obviously
a
they're
racist
brown.
cunt, I mean. If you're not a racist cunt, how
that was Bruce Steyer's
Well,
entire point. Islam isn't a race or something. There's no visible marker of Islam.
They're not scared of Albanians. They're not scared about Albanian terrorists. They look fucking Italian. That's why they don't mind Albanians.
In fact, now I want to go ahead and change the title of this episode to "They're Not Scared of Albanians."
I think you should wait till the end of the show. Make that a thing. like where you change the title, because I think some of the best titles come in the middle of the show.
Yes, Jim's for the podcast. Sometimes it's like they record a podcast and then they put it up, and so they don't know what be the episode title until someone says "shitty bum wiggle" or something like that, and then I was like, "Well, that's a podcast title right there."
The thing is, when you schedule a stream, you have to title it something. So.
Well, true, yeah. When you schedule,
and we don't always come up with great things like they're not scared of Albanians.
I mean, sometimes what we do talk about it end up being like tied to the stream title, like we heart Marty that one time, and so or other times just like, wait a minute, why did he pray for Denmark? Did we said something about it in the last show? I think so, but yeah. But stream
David
titles
said the very end. David said something. Oh, sorry, David.
What did you say?
Or cucked by an angel.
Oh, cucked by an angel. Yeah, we said that during the stream. Cucked by angel. That was a good title. Yes.
But do you have the gate? What's the context, David?
I think David was trying to make a pun there.
Yes, but
I think that's always David's context.
I need context.
Oh,
talking about a pun, I have an awful pride pun.
Okay.
How does a non-binary warrior kill his foes?
I have a sword.
They slash them.
Solid gold, 24 karat gold. That's right.
So keep in mind that was Mylene told that to me because someone on the guild that was the Pride March in Guild Wars 2 today, and someone in the guild told her that, and I didn't understand it at first because that's me. After time, I don't get it.
Well, if you see it written out, then it's like A, B, like they them.
No,
Yeah,
I think if it's your language, you understand it more.
It's a lot easier to pun in your native tongue. Yes.
Yeah, and to understand pun. Anyways, I thought you'd like it, and it's kind of
correct.
Lighter after the conversation we are having, which is an interesting conversation, but it's I don't know, it's always we had the same kind of discussion 5 years ago, didn't we?
Probably.
The protagonists weren't the same exactly, but
yeah,
I don't know, it's
tiring. I just feel like a lot of this there's a lot of I've said it before in the context of trans rights, but there's a lot of intersectionality when it comes to bigotry as well, and you're seeing a lot of this. And fuck, you can argue about the word merge, but I'm sorry. To me, that's pedantry. I mean, it doesn't matter.
I mean, if anything, Thomas is quite pedantic.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I was getting at.
Necessarily a bad thing. I know a lot of good people that are pedantic, but
here's the thing, though. Here's the problem with that. My experience with him, basically, him and I got into an argument on Twitter because I believe I was
talk to people on Twitter.
This was 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I actually was a Patreon subscriber to. I was a patron of his on Serious Inquiries, and he did this show where he talked about how the Intercept hated Hillary Clinton.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, dude, that is just factually wrong. You can make an argument that Glenn Greenwald doesn't like Hillary Clinton, but the Intercept is not Glenn Greenwald. I mean, he's a co-founder, but as we see now, there's a whole group of people that work for the Intercept that aren't Glenn Greenwald. They kicked his ass out of the thing he founded. And to say that he was going on about, well, what about Russiagate? And literally the position of the Intercept at the time that him and I got into this argument was they were just saying, we want proof. Show us proof that there was collusion. And this was before a lot of the Manafort hearings and stuff like that.
I'm sorry, Marty. I'm going to cut you. I'm going to leave you because I have a fucking flare up in my butt. Sorry, it's my sacroiliac joints are in full inflammation, and
I'm officially a pain in your ass.
Yes, on my ass specifically, but. Yes, sorry.
So you're leaving us. Bye-bye, Julie. Sorry to see you go.
I need to go lie down because I can't stay seated. Have fun, babes. It was fun talking to you, Tony.
Yes, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure.
And everyone else too, but that's the first time I get to talk with Tony.
I'm glad.
With voices, not on Twitter. Now that also I have unfollowed everyone political on Twitter. I only have kittens now and Sims because mental health. So that was nice.
Yeah, no problem.
So have a good one, everybody, and see you soon.
Oh yeah, that's so good.
Kisses. Bye-bye.
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 So Marty, you were still saying something.
Well, apparently I caused a flare up, which
oh, that's right, your beef with like Thomas Spitz like 4 years ago. The Intercept, yes.
Well, and like he literally like basically just kept going with it, and I was just like this is not he wasn't being logically consistent in his argument. And I was just like, Jesus Christ, this is a guy that has serious inquiries. I mean, and I was just like, you know what, I'm done. But seeing how he performed at MythCon, I was just like, I get it. Because like literally he's not equipped. He is not Matt Dillahunty. He can't go into these debates without it becoming about him and what he and his positions. It seems like his positions for him are, he sees them as a part of his identity. And you're not only attacking the idea, you're attacking him. And what bothered me so much about this on Twitter over the last couple of days is that Ina made some really good points and he addressed none of them, and neither did Eli. And when Ina would comment, they never responded to her. And I feel like in some way she's been gaslit because, or not even gaslit, like put in this little chamber that nobody will respond to what she's saying. And other people, they'll be on these long fucking threads where other people will make points that are less salient, and and people will, it'll be fucking retweeted 100 times. And I just feel like she's being kind of unfairly left out of the conversation. Ignored, like almost like putting her outside of the conversation on purpose, because how dare she make an episode that was not a shining example of friendliness. And I think if Seth Andrews made the same show, there would be a hell of a lot different response.
You're almost certainly right. I haven't listened to Seth Andrews in 10 years, but yeah. Well, no,
I never
it's
have
5
listened
years.
to Seth Andrews.
You're doing yourself a favor, Jonathan. You're living a good life.
I mean, I have in like my podcast rotation, Escaping Atheists, and I'm not completionist. I'm going to go back through the whole catalog through, and I'm still going to listen to Escaping Atheists because 3 years ago, Julie we did a thing where Julie reads out the Farnsworth Crows. We all evolved from Filthy Mountain Men, so I'm just going to listen to Escaping Atheists. Who like, am I going to hear Julie now? But of course, it's a
Did Julie actually record that? I don't.
We did that on stream.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know if you sent it to the Skating Aces guys.
I didn't.
But like, oh, okay. So never mind then. So I'm not going to hear Julie.
So you can stop listening to them now.
Yeah, because like, granted, this is like from 10 years ago, so I'm listening to the old Skating Atheists. But I'm just like listening to this, and when they go on about like Islam and like how that caused 9/11, I'm just like. It's just I'm wincing so much, and sometimes when they make the jokes, I feel like sometimes they are punching down on those jokes as well. And Eli Smith is also capable of doing that, so it's just like
so much of new atheism kind of depends on this American centric exceptionalism, the American exceptionalism that like is contained so much into the States, because like if you get outside of that, like the neoliberal fucking norms, you see that like 9/11 didn't happen because fucking Muslims hated our freedom. It's because we have fucking 800 fucking bases around the world, and we dictate what everybody in the fucking world does, and we oppress and bomb and do all these, but there's no context in that. It's just Muslim fundamentalism when it comes to people like
radical Islamic terrorism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not understanding why they're radical,
why they're angry.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it would have been a lot easier for them to attack, say, Italy. It's closer. They came here for a reason. Yeah.
And they hit a specific building. It was a material grievance. They hit a building that was expressing a material grievance. In the end, what liberals and conservatives don't want to hear is that 9/11 was about fucking capitalism.
Yep.
Yeah. I agree.
It wasn't about America. It wasn't about acceptance. It was about fucking capitalism.
But to liberals and conservatives, like America is capitalism.
Well, I mean, it is. That's why it was put together. It is we were deliberately constructed as a right-wing capitalist nation. That's what the Constitution is.
But you even look at like when they're talking about the people that are the quote terrorists. Who made them? Who made them? Yes, like Osama bin Laden is a creation of the fucking United States government. So was Saddam Hussein. I mean, fuck. I mean, we've got pictures.
Donald Rumsfeld shaking his hand.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it's like, Jesus Christ. Do you not see like it's all a creation of the geopolitics that we put into fucking motion.
We create our enemies so that we can have enemies to fight. Yeah. So that we have excuses to go in and do a colonialism.
Because like if if there's like war contractors or defense contractors, defense is a business, war is good for business as a war, and so so long as there's still capitalism, we're not going to have any form of peace. Maybe we'll have peace here, but like other parts of the world, they're not going to have like peace as well, because like
I think that's what the rest of the world is saying.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to have I mean,
no justice, no peace.
No racist police. So yeah,
I have to leave. I hate to. I always look in the middle of something interesting. You guys are being pains in the ass. I'm a capitalist. I love this fucking country. I think you guys are. I think we should take all the land from everybody who's not us. and bomb the hell out of everybody. You guys are just
But you're a liberal, radical. So you think gay people should be allowed to do bombing too?
Oh, absolutely. I think they should have a separate
rainbow bombs.
Yeah, they should have separate but equal bombs. I believe that's absolutely correct. So I'm going to ask. Bronx. You don't know about my history. I don't think, but I am not including you in this. But everybody else, fuck you. This has been a fucking nightmare. I love all of it, and all of you people in the chat, fuck off of you two. I would say that's a mithril, but apparently football is more important than us. So take care. Have a good time with the rest of your.
By the way, let me translate for you all. Soccer.
Hey, there you go.
So I don't know. Have we covered this topic enough? Because we talked about this for almost the entire show. So it's like
we stayed on topic for once.
Yes.
Except for the bit about Carl Sagan.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we related it back to farts. So
I've always wondered, did Carl Sagan have like public politics or
a bit?
Was he
he avoided being, really partisan. He didn't go Republican or Democrat, but he did push back against pseudoscience. He
was a Democrat.
Oh, he absolutely was. Yeah, but he didn't.
My radical position is that I only care about what you're like. Are you pro or anti-capitalist? That's the single question
exactly. I have. I think I don't know if Carl Sagan thought deeply about the economic systems of war, but I think he was big on a climate change and wished for cars to imagine this world where we're not so dependent on oil and something like that.
Did he acknowledge that the solution is anti-capitalism or just good capitalism?
That's where I'm not too sure, because I don't think he gives. Yeah, I don't think he
I don't think he talked about it that much.
Yeah, exactly.
Squishy liberal. He was a squishy liberal. What a position, dear Lord.
I mean, his focus really was on scientific education, skepticism, things like that. He was far more Bill Nye than.
Let me give you a quote. He was asked. He said, "I believe the government has a responsibility to care for people. There are countries which are perfectly able to do that. The United States is an extremely rich country. It is perfectly able to do that. It chooses not to. It chooses to have homeless people." Mm-hmm. So I mean, literally, you can't say.
That's very close to materialist critique. I'll take it. Very close.
Yes.
He was also a pothead.
Yeah. Hey,
according to his Wikipedia article, he was a user and advocate of marijuana. Under the pseudonym Mr. X, he contributed an essay about smoking cannabis to the 1971 book Marijuana Reconsidered.
Well, there you go. So I didn't know that about Carl Sagan, and he was already cool in my book anyway. And it's that's a little bit up there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, however he felt about capitalism, he was not far right. He was somewhere, at the very least, just right of center, maybe an actual leftist. Mm-hmm. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
His advocacy, his public speaking, didn't really go into that.
Well, I mean, to be fair, given the context, I mean, he died in 97?
Yes.
Something like that.
I mean,
96.
There weren't too many public out socialists even with DSA kind of socialist.
Yeah, that's true.
You couldn't talk about socialism in the 90s. No, maybe in the 60s you could have, but
I mean, Howard Zinn did a essay about this, because part of the reason that Ralph Nader was not welcome in 2000 and 2004 was not welcome on the debate stage. Well, I don't think he qualified at all, but you cannot talk about class. The only kind of class in mainstream American politics you can talk about is middle class, and that's it, really. and how to define that, which is, yeah, even like most people would have trouble defining that. For me, I define middle class as a more well-off working class, but like how I also see class is really ties into like your ownership of means production, as it were. So like small business owners, as it were, they're more of like of the petite bourgeoisie class, as opposed to, and yet they could be not as rich or just like only slightly more off or still struggling as well, like other working class people, but yet they still have that ownership of the means of production. So yeah, it kind of gets weird in that kind of like context as well. And then when you go into like and people kind of often see middle class be like white collar jobs, as were, and it's like maybe if they're in manager position or supervisor position or middle manager, then it's like, well, they don't quite own the means of production, but they're in the hierarchy of the ownership class, as it were.
So I talked about this yesterday on my stream. Wanted to get some feedback. I don't think that the left-right divide is about capitalism so much as it's about hierarchy and authority. That being right-wing is about wanting a society organized with hierarchy where some people have power over others. And thus the difference between center-right people like liberals, Democrats, and Republicans is the degree of the amount of power in the hierarchy and who gets access to power in the hierarchy. The further right you get, the more power people have, and the fewer people get to have that power.
Yeah,
I think that is a much better way of explaining the difference between Democrats and Republicans.
Yes. Within the liberal order, that's accurate. But if we're talking about like the left and the right on the ends of like communists and fascists, right? Like the end points, it's about distribution of resources, right?
Yeah, I would tend to think it is more like that.
Always, my advice to everyone is always come back to materialist critique and not the anti-identity politics. It's just like, you got to remember that at the base of everything is survival, right? We're animals. The first instinct is self-preservation. So if everything doesn't go back to food or water or, does that make sense?
I think it does. Yeah. And
then the neuroses build out from that, like the fucking the brain disturbance of fascism is like is a post-liberal thing, right? Like liberals fuck up the neural connections and they create weird hysterias, and then the fascist internalizes this and forgets that he cares about food and shelter and stuff like that, and just kind of like, oh, if I just don't live near a black guy, I know there'll be food. Am I wrong? I mean, if you examine fascists, like their deep neurosis, like they don't understand any kind of material relationship. They really think that, my sister had sex with a black guy. I think that's why I can't pay rent this week. I think they make these.
I think to be honest with you, because I have this conversation with a couple of my friends all the time. We're talking about my family and how, like, they have no idea they don't really talk about ideas. Like my brother, if you said something about, I don't know, you could throw any topic out there, like giving people food. Like literally he'd say, oh, that's fucking stupid. And then you'd ask him why. And he just would never answer the question. He'd just say, because it's dumb. But they're the type of people that never have any conception of anything outside of their own feelings, rather than their feelings aren't based in any kind of analysis. And I think in society, there's a big difference between people that actually have reasoned arguments. And there are conservatives that, I could say that are, William Buckley and people like that have arguments that are based in kind of, I think it's flawed analysis, but it's analysis nonetheless. But there are plenty of people that are in America that are just like, they literally get that switch turned by Fox News and places like that on emotion. They literally will vote against their best interest because of emotion and not because of any kind of analysis.
Oh yeah, I mean, reason will never defeat belief, and my prescription for that is that the left needs to create material conditions and proximity between people so that they believe class consciousness. We're not going to reason it to them, especially people who have limited education. We need to literally like organize people into a situation where they start to believe they're connected to each other. That's the power. That's how we,
I think we already have a good example, and that's the fucking Black Panthers. But but when the only problem with that is when you start feeding people,
the FBI will come in and murder you.
Yes.
Or the months ago, I read on one of my Twitch streams, and I put it up on my YouTube channel because Las Vegas Food Not Bombs with the Cyprop projects raised $16,000 to build 26 homes to house homeless people. They also had like community gardens set up to start growing and like a dumpster. So it's like those homeless people have homes. The Nevada Department of Transportation decided destroyed those homes because the garbage was piling up or there was assault that happened. And so
it wasn't to code or blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the most American thing ever is painting rainbows for pride on top of the anti-homeless spikes they put in the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta say, one of the most profound experiences of solidarity I've ever had was in a psych ward. I don't know if anybody's been in a psych ward. The psych wards are very communist. You hold on to this. Hey, you want a milk? Hey, you gonna eat this? Oh, I'll save this for you for later. Hey, when we have no resources and we're literally just like put into a group of divested people, class solidarity just fucking happens amongst people that the outside world there's an intense amount of class solidarity in a psych ward. And in jail and in all those places where people are just kind of herded together, they form.
When you're powerless, all you have is your community.
Actually, yeah, the DB Hunter, he's the author, and they talk about that in his book that Dumpster Flower talked about it a lot. Chad Solidarity. I'm going trying to find that, but because like they were super poor people and they were the ones that forgotten by society completely. No, there was immense solidarity amongst those people that when someone was one of their friends or one of the community was getting assaulted, they all just like ran in charge and like beat up the insulter as well to rescue the victim as well. So yeah, it's definitely about that. Makes sense.
It was a profound experience. Like it was a profound spiritual experience to see people actually like, are you okay? Do you need help? And these are people that everyone looks at, as beyond redemption. The liberal order looks at people in psych wards. I mean, I was briefly in jail when I was in on Rikers Island, and they give you all this boogeyman stuff. But when you go there, you realize, especially on Rikers, there is a open living area, right, on the boat. And we got along pretty good. We helped each other out pretty good because we slept in that common area. The psychology of that is powerful.
Yeah, but you go into that place, you are discarded by society. You are no longer you're no longer able to serve the machine, and that's why they make the horror stories about them.
Oh, yes. I do enjoy One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, though, but yeah.
Even that film contains some, again, that's communism, dude. Like fucking Nurse Ratched, she's a fucking capitalist.
Oh, yes.
She wants to sow the infighting. Even like the final act of the chief in that film, that's about compassion for somebody you formed a bond with in hell, you know?
Yeah. Good play. So change the topic a little bit. Something else that also happened last week, which Marty already covered on her tea party on Wednesday.
Steven Crowder. He goes in to debate someone who he thinks he can beat, and instead is confronted by Sam Cedar.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm generally not a Sam Cedar fan.
Yeah,
but that was orgasmic. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I don't watch Sam Cedar, or Ethan Klein, I think was the other
Ethan
guy.
Klein, H3. Yeah, it's like Ethan Klein is further right than Sam Cedar. Not far right. I don't think he's a Republican. Ethan Klein, he could be though. He could probably voted for one or two of them. Don't think he voted for Trump, but Ethan Klein is at least for.
I doubt he voted.
Oh yeah, it could be. He could be that kind of like centrist of like just not getting involved whatsoever. But like at least Ethan Klein did like invited Steven Crowder on to then have a debate with him about something, but then snuck in Sam Cedar because Sam Cedar and Steven Crowder were supposed to debate at the Politicon one time, but Steven Crowder backed out of it.
Well, and the thing is, he even said to Ethan that he considered him, quote, a layup.
Yes. Oh, and that's why Ethan Klein probably like reached out to like Sam Cedar to like arrange that. But yes, it was. Oh man,
gonna tag you in because you know this shit and I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the full thing. It's just that I saw like a couple of minutes of Steven just basically saying, "What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?" This is just freaking out and being super scared.
Like literally, I did this for the Tea Party, which is my show. That was especially for our guests and not for anybody else, but because most of the people watch both shows. But that being said, I did watch most of it, and I went into some of the analysis because I went back and looked at debates that Sam Cedar actually did, and he has done debates with people like Charlie Kirk.
Yep.
Who, while I disagree with him, again, it's one of these things. He has analysis. Steven Crowder doesn't. Steven Crowder is he's a poner. I mean, he's literally
he's a Ben Shapiro type. All he does is make quips.
It's not even. He's not even that. He's literally somebody that goes around and kicks people in the knees and then puts a microphone and lets them because you can go on I forget now what he calls them, but it's not Crowder Reacts. It's like Crowder it's where he goes in and basically bum rushes people like Antifa or it's his like kind of like his shtick is literally he's the debate guy at the colleges, and he literally will debate people that he sees are slam dunk. It's all about the slam dunk. That's all it is.
Yep.
So when he got somebody that's LeBron James a quality debater, he pissed his pants. It wasn't some college kid that he can use as a meme.
Mind.
Yeah. So I mean, like literally, like Sam Cedar has been doing a political show. He's been doing the Majority Report since 2005, I think. He did
a long time.
He's been doing political commentary for a very long time.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, this is like what he does every day. He debates people. He talks to people. He literally, I was amazed because, like, when he was debating Charlie Kirk was like, he's like, name 3 policies for me that Trump rolled back, because at the time they were talking about how Trump has deregulated everything. Name me 3 policies, and one of the things he said was coal. And Cedar just pulled out of his pocket, just like, well, for those that coal, it's only been like 9,000 jobs, and there'll be this many more cases of asthma that people die from, and just boom, 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 with all the facts about the health implications of that coal usage. And that type of debater is not somebody that Steven Crowder wants to go near, because he literally is like, I'm trying to think of the guy that was on That 70s Show that did Poning.
Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like literally, that's the kind of
punk.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that Steven Crowder does. It's just basically if you saw the movie Idiocracy, it's like Al my balls.
Yeah.
Al my balls.
His style of debate is basically like somebody playing basketball against a 10-year-old and thinking that makes him awesome.
Yeah, yeah, those are his dunks. So it was a beautiful thing to see because all the people, the Tim Pools came out. Oh my God, he was cheated. It was so dishonest. And just to see those people like crying about basically he had been tricked into debating somebody that's real.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is like, and this is, I think it's all about like the power, as it were, is going back to like different, like far right, as it were. They just want the power. They want it for themselves and not for like anyone else, as it were. So Steven Crowder wants to be able to do that, trick other people, pwn them and dunk on them, have these debates one-sided in his favor, but he doesn't want to be on the receiving end of that at all. Kind of like with the pro-lifers, as it were. So much of those like advocates for pro-lifers that happen to be like men will be willing to absolutely a drop of the hat to pay for their mistresses like abortions, as it were. And yet
it's all about controlling people. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And if they really want to be pro-life, yes, exactly. Take a tapeworm inside of them, be a good host to a tapeworm, or advocate for like healthcare for all, a single-payer healthcare system, like benefit the educational system, so those babies that are saved from like the abortions can have a good and fulfilling life. But no, they don't want to pay for food stamps as well. You get some of them, but you're not going to get all of them, because just those minnows getting anything should be acknowledged as like a gift. Hey, you'd be glad I'm paying you like the minimum wage, or I'd be glad I'm paying you like more than the minimum wage. Why do people not want to work for me? We'll give you a sign-up bonus to apply. Yeah.
So I mean, changing material conditions absolutely will help with that. But I also think that there is an emotional component where people do, in some people at least, do enjoy having power over others and seek that out. That I don't think changing material conditions would impact.
If you create a position of power, will attract people who desire power. That's why you smash the throne, so that no one can sit there. You don't just, liberalism is taking the king out of the throne, right? But if you leave the throne there,
I think liberalism isn't so much taking the king out of the throne as saying that they want everyone to be able to have access to the throne.
Right. Yes.
More women guards, more women CEOs, more gay people in the military.
Again, I think it's. I hate to go back to the Black Panthers again, but like literally their whole thing was educate and feed.
Yeah. And heal. They were very successful with their sickle cell program of like treating 500,000 people at the height of the Black Panther program.
Yep. And they also they organized street gangs so that they would stop fighting each other and start feeding people.
There was deliberate assassination by the U.S. government because they were. Again, the people were starting to believe in the Black Panthers, and the one thing that a liberal subject under capitalism cannot do is believe that solidarity is possible. Correct.
Yeah, Fred Hampton was the Black Panther. You gotta remember, this guy, he'd been doing this shit for years. They killed him. I think he was only 21 when they killed him.
Yeah, he was only 21. It was just a hit. Cold at night.
It was an assassination. It was a political assassination. On the orders of the FBI, he was drugged by an informant, and then the Chicago police killed him in his bed.
There was a film that was made about Fred Hampton, that released not too long ago with Lakeisha Stanley. I think it's Lakeisha Stanley as Fred Hampton, but then also Daniel Cooler, who was in Get Out, great movie still. And Lakeisha Stanley, who we know from, he was in Nice Out too, but he also was in Sorry to Bother You, which is still a great movie. But yeah.
And you'll notice that the liberal order,
Judas and the Black Messiah is the name of the movie.
Yeah, the liberal order loved what came next in Black culture, which was like baller hustler culture. Once they eradicated the Black Panthers, what came next was capitalist triumphalism with a black face. They love that shit. They'll they're not gonna kill Jay-Z. He's inspiring Black people to seal themselves off from each other and pursue the capitalist lottery. And don't worry if we don't give you a good wage now, because you're gonna be a star later.
Yeah, and many people have they said this. Dante Basco, the actor, Rufio from like Hook, he grew up in Compton, and so they all kind of just like know that like only form of social mobility that the people who grew up in Compton have is either sports or entertainment. And Dante Basco agrees that he was lucky that he got into like entertainment to get upward mobility.
Yeah, we often in this country don't spell out something very simple, which is that crime is free market capitalism. All this gang shit, all this mafia shit, that's all just covalent capitalism. And the reason they crack down on that is because you are threatening the existing order with your own capitalism. But the reason that Black kids get shot in the hood is because each one of them has been taught to become a fucking free market entrepreneur, and the cost of that is killing other people in the marketplace.
Some people actually were able to examine the books of those gangs, and during the height of the crack epidemic. But of course, yes, you do know that the CIA forced the crack onto the hood because they wanted to fund the Iran Contra sort of thing, as it were, or were dealing drugs with the cartel or something like that to fund the death squads that they were supporting.
The Iran Contra, yeah.
But in a TED talk I watched years ago, they kind of did the gangs for the drug runs. They'd kind of see the runners out in the streets, as it were, or that were doing the hustle there, the drug dealing, as entry level employees at a McDonald's, as it were, and kind of all had that same hierarchical structure in the gangs. Those gangs, as it were, they're doing the drug sort of thing. So yeah,
is there anything more bougie than I was watching this TED talk.
Attending a TED talk.
He said they said years ago. He said years ago, so we can give a pass. It's not like I was watching a TED talk this morning. Then I would be outraged.
Hey, since we're getting into this sort of thing, I've been having some conversations with the leftists that do seem to be anti-capitalist in some form and stuff like that. They're socialists, but don't have any further identifiers, or barely socialist because they love Bernie Sanders sort of thing. And they're talking about, and it's come to the topic of intellectual property rights, and I'm thinking it's just they can come with us and agree that the intellectual property rights has been defended by corporations like Disney and all that stuff, and all the DMCA's on Twitch streams and stuff like that. That's bullshit. But they still think it wants there to be kind of the intellectual property rights protection for creators, as it were. But I think they still believe that even in a post-scarcity society, or they don't understand our ideals as far as that society, that there'll still be people that want to be frauds. It's I made this, I'm this person that created this beat or something like that. No. Queen did dun 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 dun. We did dun 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 dun, as it were. And so they still want to that kind of protection for artists, as it were. And
they want property. They want, again, of course, you and I were around at the beginning of BreadTube, and
it's easier to imagine the end of the civilization than the end of capitalism.
Yes. The issue here is that ContraPoints and Peter Coffin want to be rich and famous and also, leftist material. No. In order for any of this to work, and mind you, anyone who's around the beginning of BreadTube remember something very specific. It was supposed to be a fucking union. We were supposed to be forming solidarity as workers, as creators.
Wait, you don't like Peter Coffin? I stand Peter Coffin.
It was originally called the Leftist Content Collective, and that lasted about a month.
Oh yeah,
And
I remember
then
heard about that.
ContraPoint said, "Bow down before me. This is a business. This is glamour pink. This is celebrity. This is I am left-wing Sargon. And if we just create a left-wing Sargonism, we're going to defeat." And it was all bullshit. It was just more people getting rich.
I will have brunch with these people.
Yeah. Well, it was all scam because capitalism. Because if you involve a drop of capitalism, you negated the whole project.
The thing is, I will always. There's one person in the atheist / secular community / YouTube community that I will always stand, and that is Christiosity. Because when at MythCon, they had a party, and all these different people from supposedly people like Vadim and all these types were basically having a party. And it was like, it reminded me, I've said it before, it reminded me of fucking the not the Roadrunner, but
the Wile E. Coyote.
Coyote and the sheepdog checking out at the end of the day. They don't fucking give a it's all capitalism. It literally is all capitalism, and
it's a grift.
Bad Empanada, yes. Bad Empanada did a really good analysis of, from his own, what he makes on his channel, and extrapolated it out that he thinks roughly ContraPoints is making about $600,000 a year.
God damn.
She's making.
That's why I don't like the term leftist, and I challenge it all the time. I want to hear socialist, communist, anti-capitalist, anarchist. I don't want to hear leftist. That creates a vacuum in which profiteering can occur. I want to hear, and I don't want to hear reform. I want to hear a capitalism over. It's done. We don't have any relationship for it. We are against it. That's all I want to hear. I don't want to hear leftist, because that can be a cultural position. That can be, I want more gay stuff on Netflix.
Because so many people use leftist to mean liberal.
There's nothing wrong with consumer grievance under capitalism. I want LGBT stuff, but that's a consumer capitalism. Yeah.
Even in that, like, the culture is more about it's more about tolerance than acceptance. Like when it comes to, I go back, when you're talking about Stonewall, people don't understand that the people that were there were gender fuckers. The people that were there were people of color that were gender variant, mostly.
Happy Pride, everyone.
But a lot of trans women of color. Yeah.
Trans women of color.
And it got immediately taken over by gay white cis men.
Yes.
Well, but you have to understand, within the LGBT community, there's always been two and Harry Hay was a founder of the Mattachine movement. But he moved on to create what is known as the Radical Fairies. And they're basically two different. The Mattachine Society was all about being fucking we're just like you. We have all the gay men had suits, and all the women wore these nice dresses and had luncheons and that kind of thing.
The gays go to brunch and want to adopt kids and things like that.
Exactly. The assimilators, as it were.
Well, we're just like you. We want tolerance to live our lives. Where the Radical Fairies were like, fuck you, this is us. We don't care if you accept us. We are here. We're queer. Get used to it, type of thing. And I see this.
Tolerance leaves room for bigotry. That's the problem. Is that tolerance is like, well, if you don't act up, I agree with you that the radical demand is the answer. The radical demand is like, stuff your bigotry up your ass, because.
But the tolerance is easily recuperated by capitalism.
Yes.
Oh yes, the rainbow capitalism
and monetized. Yeah. Target, because Target's your friend.
As in some of the things like even or like Skittles, where it's like we have this, we're going to be selling for Pride, we're going to be selling this plain white bag of just nothing but like colorless Skittles, white Skittles, as one like a store in Britain mistakenly called it white Skittles, because the only rainbow should be like those who celebrate Pride, as it were, or those who are part of the rainbow, as it were. So yeah.
Well, that's unlike what trans women call titty skittles.
Yes.
That's something altogether.
Oh, there was that hurricane of puns. I remember that was so wonderful.
And I agree, John P. I haven't seen it, but yeah, don't watch Stonewall Uprising documentary. It's very whitewash and ciswash. Yeah, but like a better queer movie that's actually titled Pride is about the 1980s gay and lesbian support the miners who were supporting the miners' strike in Thatcher's whole thing and at that time. And there you go, solidarity, because the gay and lesbians in London are kind of like, well, who's supporting the miners? We gotta like show support or something like that, because we know what it's like to be like oppressed and like get discarded by society, not treated like fairly. And so that's what they did. They raised money, and they were the biggest money raisers as well. Unfortunately, the 2014 film Pride, which is excellent though, kind of did like liberal wash it a bit, because the leader of the gays and lesbians support the miners cannot be mentioned that he was a Marxist and a communist. So it's still an excellent movie though. I recommend that.
I had to laugh. I knew I was in the wrong union when Mike Johnson, who was actually one of the leaders that you're talking about, he came to speak at our conference, and like, you have to understand, there's because of our field, people have a lot more wealth generally than a lot of the unions here. There's a lot more wealth in our I'm a radiographer, and in the health industries, you have people that live a pretty posh life, and the people that are in the unions typically there to pat each other on the back. So when you have this guy that's a fucking Marxist, basically, that walks in and is talking about how Jeremy Corbyn needs to be the next leader of the country, you could feel viscerally the how uncomfortable these people felt, and I fucking loved it. But yeah, when it comes to tolerance and that, I mean, I've seen both sides of it, and I kind of feel like you were saying earlier, you were making fun of me because or Julie was, because of my linkage to the Obama administration. But I think people are starting to wake up and like realizing that the hope and change that they were promised is complete bullshit.
Yeah,
it's just more of the same, but nicer.
We need to keep in mind that bigotry is largely a byproduct of capitalist atomization. It's because we don't share food together. It's because we don't acknowledge that gay, queer, trans people participate in the social contract in a way that feeds you, clothes your family, all that stuff. If this became a manifest belief that people were aware of, the bigotry wouldn't be a problem, because they wouldn't even think about it. They don't understand.
Well, my biggest problem with leftists and communists in general is that they tend to talk about theory all the fucking time and use, I mean,
there's no follow through.
Well, if you talk to Joe Schmo about material conditions, they're going to go, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, because like many of them,
I'm an ANCOM. I'm not talking about. I'm sorry. I'm not talking about rhetoric. I'm talking about taking action.
Yeah. No, and I agree.
In configurations, it is by doing. It is by feeding, clothing, helping, that is what makes the belief. You don't have to tell them, they see it.
Yeah,
it is
exactly.
a materialist manifestation through action. Yeah.
But Marty, were you saying that it's about the language they use that is dense and people don't understand, or
well, I just think that there needs to be, well, there's a whole community online of, like I said, of people that identify as leftist or communist or MLs, or, you know, and they'll sit there and talk about they'll argue back and forth about theory and, you know, what Marx said, blah, 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 blah. And like literally that's why I gravitate towards the stuff that the Black Panthers did, because it is literally starting at the bottom of helping people, like literally like impacting their lives in a way that they will listen to you. I mean, there's a reason why churches feed the homeless, and you go in and you listen to a fucking sermon. They're trying to indoctrinate you.
Yeah, well, yeah, actually, a couple of people knocked on my door, handed me a pamphlet or leaflet about the food program that they were running, and it's like, thank you. I will take this information and give it to someone that is like hungry, so like that. I was like, look at, it's only 2 days for 4 hours on Sunday and the Thursday, and then I was like, it's out of church, and that's when they stopped to talk about it, wanted to talk about Jesus, and they spent 30 minutes with me until they finally just gave up and then went to the next door, because like I wasn't rude. I was just polite. It's like, I don't care about the afterlife. I care about the here and now, as it were. It's not a concern of mine. It's in my soul saved. I was only wearing my non-binary hoodies too, so I didn't bring up that part.
But if you're impacting the lives, the material conditions, as we say, of these people, you don't have to tell them the theory. I mean, it's
correct.
I agree.
You know, I mean, I've been reading a book about the pedagogy of the oppressed.
Yes, that's a good book. Yeah.
Oh man, it is so awesome, because it's basically it's a book mainly for my partner is a linguist. She's a student studying linguistics, and like most of the people that I know in that field, they know this book, especially in Brazil, because the author is Brazilian. But like literally, it's a book about how to teach, and how that colleges are basically capitalism, a form of capitalism where you go and you pay for this knowledge, and they know nothing. Students know nothing, and you're paying for that knowledge. And he's like, this isn't how it should work. It should be more about people coming together and educating each other from their own experiences. And I think logically, like when you do this kind of Black Panther movement type of thing, that you'll get those people that want to learn theory and want to understand more about, like, why are you feeding me? Why are you doing these things for me? And then do you know what I mean? It's more of a way of getting people.
You don't need to read Das Kapital to understand basic solidarity, but basic solidarity predates. Karl Marx was doing an analysis. This is why I like Latin American leftism in the modern day, is that they're largely socialism is food on the plate, socialism is medicine in your arm. That's all you really need. You don't need Berkeley, California socialism. That's garbage. That led to Silicon Valley type shit. The real socialism of the future, and I saw some of this in my own community in the inner city, like Fight for 15 activated a lot of people, and they started to think, you know what, I hate this shitty job at Burger King. And if I go outside with everybody and solidarity equal to raising the minimum wage, people were like, so my needs, it's gonna benefit everybody. That's why I think it's very important that all of the activism, even the Black Panther stuff, was about getting kids in a room together and partaking together. It's not personal charity. It's not going house to house giving bags of food. get the kids in the lunchroom, feed them all so that they feel what solidarity means.
You know what though? I felt kind of like, I'll be honest with you, like, because I'm an elderly person. I'm literally the opposite. I'm getting more radical as I get older. And I mean, I didn't consider myself an anarchist. I'm 53, and I didn't consider myself an anarchist until probably 2 years ago. But what scared me,
I want to congratulate you. I'm very happy. That's a great sign of personal growth.
Well, thank you. But I think that, like, when it comes to this natural progression, I think it's more about, I don't know where I was going with that.
They're not going to need theory.
I know. I was saying I was afraid, because lately I've been listening to a lot of people talk about the difference, and this is kind of what I think you're getting to, is the difference between individuality and community. And because I have found, like, my kind of development was in the LGBT activist community in America, and it was all about identity politics. And so I've had to kind of come to grips. It scares me in a way, because I'm like, there's a red scare that was put into me from the time that I was, going to school in kindergarten, that, communism is bad, and anything that's socialist, it's scary, and is something that is going to cause breadlines, blah 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 blah, that type of thing. I didn't have the knowledge, the context to understand, Venezuela, I didn't have the context to understand the United States has been suppressing Venezuela for decades, and other countries like that.
Doing coups. Yeah.
But when it comes to
most of the good work done in Venezuela was a byproduct of Chavez allowing communities to help themselves and help each other. The community projects that were successful were not imposed by the government or overseen by the government. They were communities given resources to help each other.
But I literally had my ex is an alt-righter now, and
oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
That's why we broke up. But I mean, that was literally a retort. Well, she wasn't voting for Jeremy Corbyn. Well, what about Venezuela? And I was
oh yeah, I mean, my younger brother, the Trump supporter Gamer Gator, who I did not came out to him as non-binary until he found that tweet of mine that went viral, so that's how he found out. But like, we've been watching anime, it's cold, and people were outside of a soup kitchen gathering soup, and he thinks, oh look, communism working, completely ignoring that if we had a food line on Thanksgiving because of the pandemic against the war, and like it happens under capitalism, I think, a lot more often. But like, going hungry when there's food shortages, doesn't matter about the economic system. But I, of course, argue that capitalism it creates scarcity.
If we do socialized healthcare, then you're gonna have to wait a month to see the doctor.
People wait in line right now for like 3 hours sometimes.
You do have socialized healthcare. It's called for-profit. The HMO is basically like capitalist, collectivist. You are being used. You're just not getting the profit. Everyone is putting in, and no one's getting out. The only difference would be you'd still be putting in like you are now, but you'd be doing it through a public system where you would actually get care out of it.
Yeah.
Taking away the profit motive would make everything so much more efficient.
But like, how can you get the people to like want to like work for all these other things? Like, okay, buddy, if you need to be paid an exorbitant amount of money just to do anything for the good of others, exactly, for example, is like that, then that says more about you than it says about like everyone else. And we and I think it's like the Bronx, you're correct, and Marty's correct, is like by having mutual aid kind of programs as we're and showing that we are in this together, I think more people will actually finally believe that, like, no, people are not shit. We're just taught to believe that because we've been atomized, separated, and urbanized, and we're all in our own little like bubbles together, or bubbles alone, not together. But when we're at work, we are on our own phones and then reading our newspaper. So it wasn't just technology that was isolating us. No. Oh, but we are alone together as well.
Yes, absolutely. I think that the two truths they don't want us to touch are that we're all connected to each other. And I think even more taboo than that is the concept that we're connected to the earth. That's why climate change discussions cause...
Are you having sex with the earth? That's weird.
Don't kink shame.
Yeah.
Hey,
the earth is consenting.
I think that conservatives are really terrified. I think that liberal subjectivity makes you really afraid of your connection to nature, because that takes you out of like being a hero. Like you're just a part of the background. That's really terrifying to them, you know?
Yeah, they like to think that they're the heroes of their own stories, because I happened to listen to Behind the Bastards episode by Robert Evans on the Koch brother that still lives. Charlie Koch's the one? Yeah, Charlie Koch's the one that's still alive. Oh, he still believes in his own mind that he is the rebel, like the rebels from Star Wars going against the evil empire of the government. So that's why he wants all the deregulations and why he funded the Tea Party, as it were. And no, the conservatives still think that they're still the heroes of their own story, fighting against the oppression of whoever it is that they find to be the enemy, as it were.
They want to be special.
Exactly. John, did you happen to prefer any fishy fashy? I mean,
I did not.
Okay. Yeah, we were going.
I knew we'd have stuff to talk about.
Exactly. So it's been 2.5 hours. I think that's a good place to like call it on and to call to solidarity. So,
I do want to say that we need to caveat the material. Go ahead, Marty.
I have a question. Leftist movies. Can you suggest some that I should see?
Because then
Judas and the Black Messiah.
You're mostly gonna have to go to Europe for that, like Battle of Algiers, like French, Italian stuff from like the years of lead. You're gonna have to mostly go to like European movies. Very few American. Very, very, very few.
So basically, I'm gonna have to go to the places I've previously gone to get adult material. Is that what you're saying?
It's equally suppressed here in the U.S.
So yes.
I wanted to caveat that the material conditions and feeding people and helping people. It's also important to integrate, because people become less bigoted when they actually live among the people they would ordinarily be bigoted against.
Yeah. That's probably the biggest thing that I learned through my activism was the stuff that I was doing online didn't mean jack shit in comparison to the stuff that I was doing door to door, talking to people, connecting with people, having real life dialogue and connection. You know, the LGBT community didn't get gay marriage didn't get accepted in America to the point that it is now by legislation or blog posts or anything like that. It was my gay uncle, my gay cousin. It was knowing people.
Yep.
Yes, it was knowing and loving those people, and I agree. I mean, it's something that we have to connect with people, and sometimes that's hard.
Into the streets. Remember the chant? I'm 40 years old, but I remember out of the closet into the streets. That's the key right there. Out of the closet into the street.
That's why representation in media does have an impact. It's not enough, but it is a good start.
Yeah,
it's incomplete. It's incomplete. There's nothing wrong with it, but it is incomplete. You need to complete. It's not enough for you to cook the meal. You have to serve the person the food. You can't. Well, I made you this. All right, good. It's not done until you feed it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And plus, like it should be. If it's good stories as well, because no one was like celebrating Fan Stick for like having Michael B. Jordan as like a black Johnny Storm, because that movie was terrible. It wasn't until like Black Panther or there was Blade before, as it were, and that sort of thing. I don't know. I lost the track of my thought process there, but like, yeah.
Yeah. And that's also a good explanation for why rural America is so Republican. They only ever encounter other straight, cis, white people because they drive them out of those communities.
But also remember, in a ruthless sense, though, they encounter each other as competitors in a marketplace. You will not find true solidarity in these towns. They have to externalize it onto whiteness. They have to externalize it onto Christianness. Anything other than I'm a person, you're a person. They don't like that shit. Are you the right person? Have you passed all these little virtue barriers? So even then,
are you a white Christian? Then like maybe I can talk to you. Yes, it's like they want to. They love to uphold the white Christian power structure in America too. Yeah, and they go to the extreme that they have.
Yep, and keeping communities separate. Allowing that segregation, continuing it, permitting it, whatever. It makes it possible for communities to be pitted against each other.
Yeah.
So,
which is bad for us and good for the right. So we want the opposite. We want to continuously break down all these little fictions.
Yeah. I mean, that's why you don't have unions in the South. This racism is used to fight the unions.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
All right.
Thank you, Bronx Blogger, for coming. I'm gonna post your channel again into the live chat right now. Please, everyone, do check out the Bronx Blogger's YouTube channel. Very interesting. This whole backlog is, and of course, Marty Afton they host the Tea Party, so teapartypodcast.com for all of that. Don't forget the charity links, and I'm Summer and a Geek on Twitch and YouTube and Twitter. And John Brockman, you host another podcast. Oh, no, you don't.
I don't host it, but I participate in a D&D podcast, Dungeons and Debacles. A lot of fun. Completely different.
Yes, thank you for everyone for coming. Goodbye, comrades. Protect your comrades.
Take your pills.
The peace, love, and stay hydrated.
Water yourself.
Hydrate and masturbate.